Hey everybody, it's Kathleen Gage with Power Up for Profits and the 100 Club, where we work with bona fide experts, helping them to gain lots of visibility through the power of podcast interviews. And it was actually on one of my runs. As you know, I'm a runner, and I try to log in a few miles every day. And it was during one of my run times that I thought, what I really need to do is I need to go to the source. I need to go to the hosts who have been hosting a show for a considerable period of time and find out from them what is it that they're looking for when somebody approaches them to be on their show. And it's with great delight that I'm with the launch of this new segment of my YouTube channel. My first host that I'm interviewing on my maiden voyage is Nikki Leigh. Nikki Leigh and I go back probably 15, 20 years. We both have been in the online space for quite a while. And let me tell you a bit about Nikki before I officially bring her on. Nikki Leigh is an award-winning author, a certified love and relationship coach, and the host of Ready for Love Radio, the international radio show streamed to over 200 countries each week on New Visions Radio. And I will be putting all the links down below in the description of the YouTube, on my YouTube channel. And really what I want you to know about Nikki is, one, she's just an awesome, awesome friend. She's a great host, and she has done over 269 shows that are actually in the archive as of September 2019, which means she has interviewed hundreds upon hundreds of experts for her show. Her show is followed by millions of people. She's had millions of downloads, so she knows of what she talks. And today what we're going to talk about is, what does she look for when somebody approaches her to be on her show? So Nikki, with that, just welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
It's great to be here, and I do know what I do and do not want in a guest.
Okay, and that's what we're going to talk about. And, let's start out with you sharing a little bit about your show. You have Ready for Love Radio. What is that?
I agonized over the name. When I decided to start the show, I said, it's gotta get the point across. I don't want cutesy. I don't want flaky. It's got to get my point across. And I think everybody thinks they're ready for love and they want love and they're searching for love. But I think it goes deeper than the physical ready for love. We need to be emotionally, mentally ready for love. And that means that we need to be in a space where we're personally ready. And number one, we've got to love ourselves, and we've got to be ready to let another person in to our life. And that means being confident, self-assured, self-esteem, all those sort of things, and knowing what we want and what we'll put up with, and being ready to set boundaries, have expectations. So it's more than just, I say that in the show I talk about love, romance, intimacy, and sex, but that's just the beginning of being ready for love.
Right.
There's a whole lot more involved. So I like to bring a wide variety of guests, and I talk about, if you look at the archives, there's a whole lot of stuff that people may not think about when you talk about being ready for love. But it all circles back. Well, in my mind, it all circles back to being ready for love.
Which actually ties in very nicely with what we're going to talk about today, where you said that, you have to be really clear, you have to set boundaries, you have to, there's certain criteria for being ready for love. It's the same for being ready for a podcast interview. And I want to really dig into what what should an expert, and I work with bona fide experts. I was sharing with you before we started this conversation that I have an emergency room doctor that I work with that is an expert on spousal abuse. I have a woman who survived a stroke that teaches people how to be a good advocate for somebody who's had a stroke. I've got several fine artists, one who does retreats in Taos, New Mexico. I've got a woman who is a food intuitive, and she's certified as a food intuitive, and she's been consulting in the nutritional realm for a couple of decades, and just an amazing person. So I don't necessarily work with life coaches. Not that I wouldn't, but I don't work with people that are real generic in what they do. And I teach them how to find really great opportunities to get their message out by way of podcast shows. And what I have found is a lot of times people have no clue what to do when they're approaching a host. So what do you look for in the guests that approach you? What are some of the things that they need to do before they even approach you?
Well, having a media kit is really nice. That tells me their background and why they're qualified to be on the show. When I got my certification, I studied, I actually have a certification. I graduated from a love coaching university, and I studied, the curriculum was 36 different courses that I took. Mm-hmm. And so I studied all these things to a degree. But I want people that have studied more in depth than I have. Okay. If I bring somebody on, I want somebody who has studied in depth or who is living a specific lifestyle. Okay. I don't want somebody that just read a couple articles or read a book about it and said, "Oh, this is cool." I mean, I want somebody who lives it, breathes it, and can give you more information than I can. Okay, I like when I know the topic to some point, but I want a guest who knows more about it than I do. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes, it does. Mm-hmm. And I want to touch on the media kit. When you say it's good for them to have a media kit, I agree, and I actually work with my clients on their media kits. What do you say at a minimum they should have in their media kit?
That kind of varies because a lot of people don't have media kits. I like them, but a lot of people don't have them. All their contact information, up-to-date contact information. I really, it's a red flag when the email comes back, or when the phone number doesn't work.
Right.
But up-to-date contact information, a website that works, Facebook page that works, up-to-date pictures is good. If you've published, give me information. If you've got articles online, that's good. Anything that establishes your credibility. How about that? Anything that establishes your credibility.
Okay.
Doesn't need to be 20 pages, but whatever establishes your credibility.
Okay, excellent. Well, one of the things that I work with clients on is getting their expert one sheet done, because that really forces them to look at, okay, what is their message, and putting it in a format that's easy to digest, because like you said, you don't need 20 pages worth of information. But how important is it for people to know something about your show before they approach you?
Yes. I know what I talk about. Take a look at my archives. Have some clue what I talk about. I have people that it doesn't relate in any way to what I do, and they send me things and very forceful. And then when I say, "Nah, I don't really feel like you're a fit for my show," especially on LinkedIn, they do this. Mm-hmm. And then they get really obnoxious and in my face. And I'm like, "Did you look at what I talk about?" Discussing love, relationships, intimacy, and sex. And then they're like in like mortgages, and they like get in my face. I'm like, okay, take a look at my cover picture on my LinkedIn profile, folks. You're not a fit. Trust me.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah. Well, what's how do I want to ask this next question? I would say, what's the weirdest thing that somebody has done when they've approached you, besides being in your face when you say no? But, what's one of the strangest inquiries you've ever had?
Kathleen, I do a relationship show. When I talk about stuff, I mean, what can I talk about on here?
You can talk about whatever you want to. Hey, it's you got the floor.
I actually, this month is 6 years I've been doing this show on New Visions. God, the strangest. This is actually okay. This I don't think this is the strangest, but this actually makes a really, really good point. So let me share this with you. Something I get my guests to do is I've got certain questions I'm going to ask to establish their credibility. Okay, and I figure my guest needs to know the topic better than me, and I want to tap into their expertise while they're on the show. So I've got things I'm going to ask, and things are going to pop into my head while we're on it, while we're recording. Okay. But I also want them to share the things they're the most passionate and the most knowledgeable about. So I asked them to send me like 10 or so questions that they want me to ask. I figure they're going to be the most prepared with that, right? Okay. So I asked them to do that. I had a woman who's had her own show for 5 years. And she says she's been in the field for years and years and years and years. Okay. And I asked her to send me 10 questions. And she replies, "Excuse me? I don't understand what you mean." And I'm like, "I'm confused." "What do you mean you don't know what I mean?" And she says, "What do you mean you want me to send you questions?" And I said, how else do I ask this question? I said, well, I've got questions I'm going to ask you, and I've researched you, but I'd like you to send me some questions that you'd like me to ask. And she's like flabbergasted. And I'm like, okay, here's the topic I want to talk about. I have mostly women that listen to my show, but my male audience is growing, so I'd like to tap into what men are interested in also. And I don't even remember at this moment what we were going to talk about. I said, but give me some seed questions that you feel passionate about you'd like me to ask you. And she ended up not coming on the show because she couldn't figure out anything I could ask her.
Oh my goodness.
Big red flag when the guest does that.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah, I would say a little bit. And, after the show, let's talk about, what you would hope that a guest would do after the show, because some people, they're what's that? Okay.
Before the show. This is important. Before the show.
Before the show.
You want the guest to promote the show. Okay. I always do a nice promotional image where I've got all the information about the show, a picture of the guest, all this sort of thing. I want, because mine airs on Thursday nights, okay? It replays on Friday night, Saturday night, and Monday night. Well, middle of the night, Monday night. So I want my guests to promote the show. I tag them in the stuff I do, like on Facebook, and I post all over Facebook and then all the other networks I'm on. And then after Thursday night, once it airs, my deal with the network owner is I will not post it anywhere until it premieres on Thursdays. And then it goes out to all the top podcast directories after that.
Ah, okay. Mm-hmm. So they're going to get a lot of visibility by being on your show. Yeah. It's like you're going to make sure that it gets a lot of traction, but part of their commitment should be to help you promote it ahead of time. So you have a live show. Okay, and so ahead of time, you provide them with that content, and you make it really clear, you need to do this. What happens if somebody doesn't do that? What does that do to your relationship with them? Speaking of relationships.
They're exactly. Very unlikely I'm going to have them back.
Okay. That's what I was hoping you were going to say, because what I think a lot of times people fail to realize is that they look at things in silos and in the short term instead of like, what's the big picture here? And it's all about collaborative relationships, and it's all about, this is really what I impress upon the people that do private training with me, any of the training materials that I provide to people. I have free resources I have on my YouTube channel, a lot of training for people that if they would just spend some time paying attention, they would realize this is about them being a part of the success of the host show. And so leading up to it, you want them to promote it. You make it very clear to them. You provide them with the information. On the show, obviously, give a good interview and be prepared. What about after the fact? Is there anything that they can do to really be in your good graces after the fact?
Well, afterwards, I can also give them the embed code, so if they want to put the show on their website, they can.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay. The link that we promote, and I put this on all of my sites. I've got tens of thousands of people within my social media network. So what I want to do is I don't want there just to be a post and then they go there and it says, woo, this is where the show is. But I actually embed the MP3 player of the show on that page after it does air. So if they go there, say the show airs on Thursday night, let's say they go on Friday morning, boom, the replay of the show is there. Okay. Excellent. So if they don't find it till the next day, they can still hear it. I do it. I try to make it easy. So I can give them a MP3 player that can go on their website, because I know shows that I do after the fact, I get the link and make sure that they're on my website. So I do it for other people. But a lot of people too, I have a lot of people on that are experts that have books. If they have another one, reach out to me and let me know you have another book, because I'll have you back on. You know, if you make my life easier. Let me give you a cool little thing. My favorite publisher, I've worked with 3 over the years. And she has this neat little quote. She tells all the authors that work with them. Some listen and some don't. But she says, any author that works with a publisher should make the publisher's life easy. So same is true of a guest that works with a radio host. You should make their life easy. So if you make my life easy and you help promote the show, you're very likely to be invited back.
Right. Okay. Excellent.
All right.
Excellent.
Well, a friend of mine, actually the network owner, I asked him if he had any tips, and he just responded to me. He says, a good host will prepare, and a good guest should also do his or her homework. Be prepared to talk and be prepared to listen. He's right.
Great.
I agree.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Let's see. How do people find you? We're going to put all your links in the description, but just for the people that are listening, what's one location they can go to that has a lot of your information?
You know, actually, something just came to mind. Him and I joke about a guest that he has on occasionally, and we joke that she doesn't take a breath, okay, when she comes on. And it's true. He can actually start interviewing and ask a question and leave the room, go downstairs, put laundry in the washer, fix a sandwich, and come back, and she's still talking.
Oh my gosh! Oh, that's incredible. That's incredible. So take a breath. Yeah, you would advise take a breath.
Well,
okay.
I have people that are used to being speakers, okay, and they're like, "Oh, I'd love to come on and speak to your listeners." I'm like, "Okay, wait a minute. This is a give and take. This is a conversation. I don't need you to come on and lecture my listeners for an hour. We're going to have a give and take. You know, I have a certification of my own, and we're going to have a give and take. It's my radio show, not yours." You know, so we're going to discuss a topic between the two of us. You know, so even when a guest has an expertise, have respect and learn about the host, because sometimes you're going on with a host who maybe doesn't have any expertise of their own or any knowledge about the topic of their own, but maybe they do. And if they do, show some respect for it, because I know when I have guests that come on and they talk down to me, my listeners, they'll turn it off. I mean, I've gotten like really pissed off letters. You know what I'm trying to say? I mean, maybe I'm not saying.
I get it. No, that makes a lot of sense, and which, you know, it's shocking what some people will do. So,
well, and we have a chat room on the network, and I mean they've gotten vicious. They have. I had one guy, and he actually has a lot of information to share, but after the way the core people that are friends of mine that listen, I mean, they're like, you have him back, we will not tune in.
Wow.
We will not tune in if he comes back. Not after the way he treated you.
That's incredible.
Oh, yeah. Because,
well, I mean, that's another great insight, and thanks for sharing that, because you're giving some, you know, it's so interesting, Nikki, because a lot of this, to me, is common sense, but then you and I have been doing this for a lot of years, and to somebody that's new, one of the big challenges that I see, you know, again, they are bona fide, I've got PhDs, I've got doctors, I've got dentists, I've got, you know, people that have earned the right to share their message, and yet they get really intimidated by the microphone. So what would you say is a way that people can get over the fear of the microphone? Because, you know, I can't believe how much that holds people back from really putting their information out to market in a big way.
You know, I think, well, I was like that initially too. Well, of course I was talking about sex. That makes it even worse. Especially when you're doing a live show and people are calling in. Wow. When you first do it, you just got to have the confidence that you know your topic, and you've got a message you need and want to share. Right. I one of the things I do when I talk to guests ahead of time is I ask them what topics they'd like to talk about, okay? And when I say, okay, now, of those topics, which one are you the most passionate about? I want to know what you're passionate about, and I want the passion to come through when we do the interview. You know? And if we start talking about something and I'm not feeling the passion, I'm not feeling their excitement, I may change what we talk about. You know, because I want the listeners to know the person's excited about what we're talking about, that they really care about it and really want to share it. I haven't had to do that too many times because I've gotten good enough in the initial conversations to get to the right topic. Right. But early on I had to. You know, sometimes it's like, I don't think we're talking about the right thing. Right. You know, right. I've gotten better at screening my guests.
Okay. Well, you know, we all get better with time and age. At least we would hope so. So, okay. So again, how do people reach you? What's the best URL that you can give them? ReadyForLoveRadio.com, and I've got a contact page on there. ReadyForLoveRadio.com. ReadyForLoveRadio.com. One more issue that I found, and this is a really easy way to spot a problem, is when I ask for my questions, and a person can't come up with some. This also helps me. If the person's had the book ghostwritten, they won't know the topics. I mean, they won't know the content. Because there's also been times when I've read the book and I've asked specific questions, and the person's like, oh, wow. If they had the book ghostwritten, and they didn't actually read the book after it was ghostwritten, they don't know the content. That's incredible. You know, I've worked with a lot of authors. I've never thought of that. That is incredible. So that's a really valuable insight. So in recapping, give me the top 3 things that people should do to really shine as a podcast guest. Be prepared. Find a topic you're most passionate about. Promote the show. Okay. Excellent. Well, Nikki, it has been delightful having you as my first host experts sharing your insights from the perspective of somebody who's interviewed hundreds of people. You've had millions of downloads. You've been doing this for quite some time, and what that means to all of us is we're getting older. And what can I say? What can I say? But I just really, really appreciate it, and I appreciate you, and I'm so glad you're in my life, and I just I'm thrilled beyond words that I can share this with my community. So thank you very much.
Well, it was awesome getting a chance to vent all that. Thank you very much.
You betcha.